There is a new societal health crisis on the rise, and it's called work from home burnout. Work from home burnout. Flex Job and Mental Health of America stated that the COVID crisis caused a 75% job burnout rate. 75%. That is astronomical. The lines between work and home have clearly become blurred. Many individuals tell me that they don't have time for self-care. The Japanese have a term for death by overwork, and it's called karoshi. Karoshi. We want to avoid karoshi at all costs. You were created to thrive, not live as if you're about to die. I'm Christy Kennedy, image confidence expert, and today I am excited to share with you a few key self-care strategies that you can perform in less than 5 minutes. Oftentimes, we overlook the opportunities to work with wellness in mind. How differently would life be for you if you made self-care a non-negotiable? I want you to take your pen and write down what are some of the benefits of taking care of yourself if you were to begin practicing on a daily basis. What do you hope to achieve? Is that to have more time for play? Is that to manage your strong emotions in a highly efficient way? What does that look like for you? Increased energy? Take a moment and write that down. Next, we want to look at what is creating internal stress. Do you know your triggers? What creates internal frustrations? What makes you angry? Is it the workload? Is it the extenuating circumstances surrounding all that's expected of you? Is it the tight deadlines? Do you feel like you don't have adequate support? I want you to write every negative emotion that's coming up. Reflect over the last 2 weeks. What have you been complaining about to friends or spouse? And we'll talk about a healthy way to process your emotions. But right now, we want to write all of that's coming down, because oftentimes we either stuff our emotions or we deny them. And we want to process in a healthy way. So that's why we're getting them all out right now. Now that you've identified those negative emotions, we want to keep moving forward. I want you to begin to assess where you are out of alignment. I like to call these the high five prize, your high five priorities. What matters most to you? This is where you want to invest your time and what you value most. Those high five priorities. And once you have your high five priorities written, now over the next week, over the next month, you can measure based on how you're spending your days. Are your activities in congruency with what you said you value? And it will be easier to say no to those distractions, because we typically overcommit as a result of lack of focus and lack of awareness. And so that's why we're going to heighten your self-awareness. So you should have those written down. If not, you can hit the pause button. But we're going to go even deeper in our self-care discovery session here. So you've listed your high five priorities. And another way to challenge yourself with this would be, if you only had 5 yeses to give away, what would you start saying yes to? Or what would you continue saying yes to? If you only had 5 no's to give away, what would you emphatically begin saying no to? These are your non-negotiables. This is how you get laser focused, because there's only so much time in a day. And when you look back and reflect, did you live it in a very meaningful way? Another activity that I love to do when I'm searching for my focus, I often say, find your focus, because we can get distracted, we can get off track. And all we have to do is recenter. So draw a circle. And in that circle, this is your passion circle. These are the activities that fuel your fire. They energize you. Put those in there. What do you love to do? You could do for hours. Put that in the circle. Everything else is a distraction. It's on the outside of the circle. So it's easy to identify when you're doing things you don't necessarily want to do. Are you a people pleaser? We're talking about the issue of overcommitting. That's how we end up in burnout. And I often hear, I'm a people pleaser. It's hard for me to say no. Let's practice saying no. No, 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 thank you. I want you to pre-design a few statements for when someone comes to you with an opportunity, when someone comes to you presenting an activity, an event that they want you to participate in, and you know you don't have the emotional or mental bandwidth to accept, this is your statement. You want to start practicing it before you get in the situation. Thank you for the opportunity. Unfortunately, I'm unable to commit at this time. Another way you can handle this is, if you could just give me 24 hours to review my calendar, I'll get back with you and see if it's a good fit. So you don't feel pressured to make a decision right there in the moment. Ask yourself, why is it difficult for you to say no to others? If you say no, what will you gain? Will you continue to maintain a sense of peace? If you say no, I want you to think about that before you just freely say yes. So once we established our boundaries, because it's been said, what we allow will continue. Let me say that again. What we allow will continue. You are going to experience some discomfort and resistance when you start practicing new ways of being. You can expect that. And that's why we like to have positive alternative statements ready for those moments. Why is it important for us to take time to recharge and refresh ourselves? Because ultimately, we want to perform at higher levels. We have loved ones who we want to give the best of ourselves to. When we care for ourselves, we respond in a loving, kind manner rather than a frustrating tone that could create even more conflict. So everyone wins when we care for ourselves. I often say, as I pour out, I want to pour back in. As I pour out, I want to pour back in. As I pour out, I want to pour back in. And this is how we live in harmony. I know a lot of individuals are seeking work-life balance, but what if we strive for work-life harmony? I'm going to give you an example. If I have to work on the weekends, what I'll do is look at my calendar a week out, and there is a deadline for the weekend. I may take a weekday and turn it into a weekend. So Thursday becomes my new Saturday. Do you see that? I'm working with wellness in mind because I don't want to work 7 days straight. But if there's a deadline and I'm going to work on the weekend, I would utilize any white space and turn that into self-care. That's how we win the day. It's seizing these priceless moments. And oftentimes it requires us to be a little creative. Believe you me, you can do this. I am passionate about this topic. One, I serve clients 5 days a week, teaching them how to care for themselves and make better choices so they can live a rich and vital, full life. But I personally have been on the other side of burnout. And I specifically remember when I was working at a university, serving the dean for the College of Education. And it was an extremely, extremely toxic environment, and I was not handling the stress very well. And one day I remember my body started responding to my thoughts, because thoughts create emotions, emotions create actions. And I began to break out in hives all over my body, around the neck, and I was constantly itching. I went to the dermatologist to see what was going on. I felt like I had this new skin condition. I never associated the hives with the stress or the anxiety. And during that time, I clearly remember walking to work every morning crying, saying, there has to be more to life than this. And I'm here to tell you, there absolutely is. And that's why I'm dedicated to showing others a more excellent way. We're not saying be perfect. We're just saying, let's be better. Henry Royce of Rolls-Royce said, take the best that exists and make it better. We're making these 1-degree shifts, as James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, mentions. He said, envision and imagine that you have an ice cube sitting on a table, and the room temperature is 25 degrees. The ice doesn't melt at 25 degrees. The temperature changes 1 degree at a time, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Right at 32 degrees is when we have a shift and the ice begins to melt. You may not see the changes immediately, but you will see the changes eventually. You will see the changes eventually, but it starts with a start. Jim Rohn said, when I change, everything changes. So lastly, we are going to look at a few self-care practices that you can do in 5 minutes or less. The first one is one of my favorites. I had a client who was extremely anxious about everything, and she often would have panic attacks. And so when she came to me in her first session, we talked about different ways to manage her stress levels and anxiety levels. And she learned how to do what I call the power pause. The power of breathing can calm you instantly. It lowers your blood pressure and allows you to think clearly in the moment when those strong emotions are raging. So we're going to practice breath work, because I want you to see what it looks like. You can inhale and hold for 4, and exhale and hold for 4. Inhale. That's calming already. And let's build on that. I absolutely love essential oils. You can take one of your favorite scents. This is cinnamon. It's very awakening. I rub it in my hands and I breathe in. And one more thing to add to your breath work. Affirmations. We want to create new alternative statements to what you're currently experiencing. Maybe you're saying to yourself, watch the internal dialogue. I'm overwhelmed. I have more work than I have time to do. That is not a very empowering statement. So it's in this moment you can affirm, I am calm as still waters. I am in control of anxious thoughts. I am calm as still water. I am in control of anxious thoughts. And then we breathe. I am as calm as still waters. I am in control of anxious thoughts. I am as calm as still waters. I am in control of anxious thoughts. The power pause, less than 5 minutes. Another way to practice self-care is journaling, getting those negative emotions out on paper, asking yourself questions. What happened in my day that threw me off emotionally? Describe it in detail. How did it make you feel? I felt embarrassed when my supervisor spoke in a negative manner to me in front of all of my peers. We want to address those emotions. Remember, we don't want to stuff or deny them. Feel what you need to feel in the moment. And journaling is a beautiful way to process what's happening in real time. Arts and crafts. I love creative arts and crafts to help you decompress and detach from your work. You can do adult coloring books. You can listen to music, even dance to the tunes you love. I start my day off with some of my favorite songs to get me in a certain state of mind. You want to set yourself up for success and nothing less. Another self-care practice is movement. We want to get that stagnant energy moving, move forward, jump up and down in your office because oftentimes we're sedentary. So take a moment to stretch. It's a part of your movement. So there's a few things to consider when you're looking at your day. Ask yourself, how can I work with wellness in mind? And lastly, let's create a self-care pledge from this day forward. What do you pledge to yourself? I pledge to eat healthy for vitality. I pledge to take mental breaks throughout my day. I pledge to practice gratitude and give thanks. Know that it is absolutely possible to change one moment at a time. Remember, Kuroshi, you were created to live in a thriving manner, not as if you're about to die. Avoid Kuroshi at all costs. I'm Christy Kennedy, and it's been a pleasure empowering you.